The date is 15th of May 2020, the year of the COVID. We have over 200,000 lives gone because of the corona. The situation is really bad, but that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is the issue of love. Most of us are still going on about the command being love your neighbor as you love yourself. Yet, what I want to clarify today is that is not what we are commanded to do as Christians or as people living with God in us. The command that Christ gave to us, as you read John 15, is that we ought to love, underline, one another, again, underline, as he or I, if I would be Christ, have loved you. So this is something that seems to be similar, but the difference is quite large when you consider the specifics. Now, first, let's look at the issue of loving one another and vis-a-vis loving your neighbor. What Christ is doing now is that he's enlarging the scope of love from just your neighbor to just anybody, really. Even if it's your enemy, you ought to love your enemy. No more eye for an eye. If someone wrongs you, you wrong them back. That is not what he's saying. So what he's trying to imply now is that you ought to love one another regardless of who the other is. It doesn't have to be a neighbor, but anybody, really, anybody. And he showed us this when he died on the cross. He could have called on 1,000,000 soldiers to destroy the people that were whipping him and causing him harm. But instead of that, he just said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're talking about, what they're doing. So, in essence, that says to me, he is trying to say, you have no other choice but to love, whether the person is green or they're yellow or they're brown, young, old, disabled or able, you ought to love them. Now, that is key. They do not have to be your neighbor. The second of the issue is that he speaks of the issue of loving as he has loved, vis-a-vis loving as you love yourself. Most of us don't really love ourselves because we abuse our bodies. We are happy today and we are not happy the next day. We're trying to commit suicide one day, and now if we were to love our neighbor the same way that we love ourselves, which is quite selfish most of the time, there would be a lot of confusion. So what Christ is doing is that he's trying to set an example for us to follow. So he comes down to earth. He shows us what love is, selfless love, where you deny self and you put the interests of the other person before you first, and you go on with that. That is what love is. That is what he is saying we need to copy. We need to do it as he did it, not the way that we see fit or how we love ourselves. So that marks the difference. So these are huge differences, differences that actually spell the need for a change in mentality when it comes to how we love the people that we live with and how we love ourselves, really. That we ought to do it through Christ. Now, he made that possible by coming into us so that we have the power to do it. It was okay for those in the Old Testament to love as they loved themselves because it wasn't an issue of God inhabiting them inside their hearts, but it was an issue of God working outside. But now God is working inside of us, and he says in his word that we are abiding in him as he abides in God. So me, him, God are one. So there is no need for us to be loving God with all of our hearts, with all of our minds, because we are one with him. We are what God is. We are in the same element now that Christ has redeemed us and has made us his children. So because of that, the commandment to love God with all of our hearts, minds, souls, and bodies ceases to have an effect. What is of effect now is that we ought to love our brothers, our sisters and brothers in our communities as He has loved us. Now we're just waiting for that time when the testimonies in our churches will stop being about how we love God. The prayings and the cryings would stop being about, oh Jesus, we love you, and turn to be about, hey, look here, brother, I got this gift or this blessing that God has given me, and I wanted to share it with you. I'm a doctor and I'm offering my services to everybody in the church for free. Or I have a van. If anybody needs me or a van, it's available. You can come and get it for free. If anybody needs the word, I'm here to offer it for free because God has done this for me. He has given me His love and His Son for free. So I am taking that same love because I am part of God now, and I'm sharing it with someone else that hasn't experienced the same blessings that I have. And that is what this whole deal is about. God living in us and us being one with Him then makes it easy for us to then look to our brothers and offer them the assistance that they need. We do not have to have everything to offer. Whatever we have is enough. First and foremost, what we have is God in us. And if you have God in you, you have enough. First, the word. You can share the word, you can share love, you can share companion prayer, and all the heavenly gifts that the Spirit can give. Those come for free. We don't need to work for them. You don't need to go get a degree for them. God gives them for free. So everybody can get these gifts for free. All we need to do is just seek God while He may be found, so that He may offer us these gifts. Now, I wanted to make this short, but I realized that I still got some things to say. So I say these things because it's very important that we focus our attention and our expression of love to the right place. We spend too much time spiritualizing our faith, looking unto God, crying to God, trying to show God that we love Him, opening our hearts and breaking down before Him. It's okay, but that's not what we've been commanded. What we've been commanded is that we love our one another as Christ has loved us. And that means we are part of God now. There's no need for us to be expressing things to the God that we are part of, but we're supposed to express things to our brother that needs to experience the God that we are part of, so that we invite them into the family, into the kingdom. But for us to do that, we ought to refocus. We need to stop putting too much resource and time into that, and put too much time into what you have been commanded to do, what Christ is intervening, or at least Christ is interceding for before the throne of God. He is interceding for the command which says, love one another as I have loved you. When you do that, He intercedes. But when you do the other thing, he's happy because you're praising Him. But when you start crying and you start saying you love God, but you cannot help your brother, you cannot give him food when you have, you cannot pray for them, you cannot support them the way God wants you to, then you're just wasting time. Okay, all right, I've said enough. Maybe 10 minutes is good enough for this one. So, this is just my point of view, y'all. Before I start getting preachy, hey, have a good day in the year of the covenant. I'm signing out. T.